I mean, academic freedom is really quite simple at its core, and a little complex in its implementation. But at its core, it's the freedom to pursue truth. It's the right, and it is a right of academics and students and others engaged in the research and teaching process to pursue their work without fear of intimidation, of persecution, prosecution, and so forth. And it includes not just discourse inside the campus, which we all think about, but also engaging with the public on the information that we're generating in our research communities. We tend to take it for granted until we don't have it anymore. In that sense, it's a lot like the climate of higher education or the climate of the planet. We didn't pay enough attention to it, and now we need to, right? So we need to do the same for academic freedom. We need to talk about it in our classrooms, on our campuses, in our associations, and with the state and with the public. And then we need to be really concrete about that. For example, I'm not aware of any institution in the world that has a formal orientation training program that includes teaching people about academic freedom when they enter higher education. I don't understand why we don't do that. We have a course on academic freedom. It's free, it's online, it's on the Future Learn platform if anyone wants to take it. It's called Dangerous Questions. Why does academic freedom matter? But we realize not everybody has the time to do 2 or 3 hours a week for 3 weeks in a row. So yeah, we're working on trying to boil that down to 30 minutes or even 15 minutes of what is the core essence of academic freedom that we want everyone in higher ed and in the public to understand. The World War II history is an important part of that. And so in that sense, sure, Germany has a unique connection to that history, but so does every other country. The United States has our McCarthy period. Latin America has the dictatorships of Pinochet and the other states where academics had to flee. China, of course, has had its anti-intellectual purges. The USSR states have had their anti-intellectual purges. So I think every country has a unique history that connects to the pressure where power exerts itself over ideas, but it doesn't mean that we don't do this together, because the dynamics are the same all around the world. There has never been a better time to work for academic freedom. And people see that maybe as in contrary to what they're reading in the headlines, and I understand why. But if you go back 20 years, we didn't have a global network of universities working together, researching this together, teaching on it together, and taking action together. And now we do. And in particular, in Germany, we have a SAR Germany section with over 40 institutions that are members that's actively involved through the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, which is part of the section. They have the PSI program, which is actively supporting threatened and refugee scholars being hosted at institutions and continuing their work at German universities. We have the new DAAD program, the Hilde Domin program for refugee students. And we have at the state level, the ministerial level, Germany has been really helpful in some forward-looking action on academic freedom in the European higher education area, in the European research area. So I think those ties at all those levels, at the institutional level, at the faculty level, the student level, and the state, show that if we just decide to put our efforts, and just a bit of our efforts, behind this important core value, we can really do a lot. Afghanistan, really is in terms of scale, in terms of numbers of individuals in a higher education sector coming under attack, it is by far the largest that I've seen in my 20 plus years of doing this work. And I would suggest that it's the largest since the World War II era that you referred to a second ago, just in terms of the sheer numbers of people who are under threat because of their work, because of their status in the higher education sector. And of course, this is especially women. And we have to remember that Afghanistan is not the country it was 20 years ago. There is a whole generation, really 2 generations of young people who were trained and went back to Afghanistan and really believe in academic freedom and in the pursuit of knowledge and truth for the betterment of the public good. And really all of them are at risk right now. So the saddest part is we saw it coming and it didn't have to be. But we don't have to get into that now because it is. Over the last several weeks, we've received over 1,200 requests for assistance from Afghanistan alone. And I should say that's in comparison to 500 requests from the entire world in all of last year. So basically, we've received a year and a half worth of work over the last 6 weeks, and we are racing to catch up. We're grateful that our funders have stepped forward, and so we've been able to add some staff to help with that. And we're just deeply grateful to the university community. We put out a call for help, and hundreds of universities have already come forward and said, we would like to try to help our Afghan colleagues. Academic freedom is not a checkbox, have it, don't have it, and then you're done. Various rankings, I think the challenge with the rankings is, what are they doing? They're whether they say it or not, they're putting together a list that they know people will look at and say, this is a quality ranking. The institutions listed here are great universities based in the order in which they're listed. And our view is that if you're not factoring in academic freedom, which is at its root a driver of quality, I mean, that's what it's all about. Academic freedom is about making sure there's quality in teaching, research, and discourse. If you're not factoring it in, then your index is based on really an error.